Well, hello my lovelies. This is Lisa Chu with Chu Got This. Today we're going to be making banana macarons with a chocolate ganache, as well as key lime macarons with a French buttercream. So let's get to baking. Okay, for our macaron ingredients today, we have 140 grams of almond flour sifted, which usually comes out to be about 1.5 cups. 130 grams of powdered sugar sifted, which also is about 1 cup. 100 grams of egg whites, which usually is about 3 eggs. 90 grams of extra fine sugar, which is about 1/2 cup. Any flavorings that you might use, which today we're doing banana and key lime, so that's where the yellow and the green come from. Also, you're going to need 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Also, for the ganache filling, you're going to need a cup of heavy whipping cream to 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate morsels. Okay, to start, I'm going to introduce you to something the French call mise en place. Mise en place means everything in order before you start, basically, everything in place. So what do I mean by that? Well, you start everything like you preheat your oven to 300 degrees because you're going to be cooking at a low heat there. You also have your ingredients ready to go and your piping bag set up and ready to pipe. Also, you have your macaron template that we made in another video, okay? And just everything there and situated, because you don't want to be in the middle of doing something and suddenly, oh, I forgot to ground my almonds. You know, make sure that you have all that set in place. First, what you want to do is put your almond flour and powdered sugar into the food processor and give it a couple of grinds so it's nice and mixed. Now, you don't want to make almond butter or anything, but you definitely want to get that like nice and pulsed together. All right, get that nice and ground. Pat it down a little bit. All right, we're going to set that aside for just a second, all right, and get to our meringue. Okay, for our meringue, you're going to put your eggs in, nice room temperature egg whites, okay, and you're going to add that little bit of salt in there. Once you add that salt to your egg whites, you're going to set it into your blender. Start slow, and then you're going to push it on high. You're going to basically wait until it gets a little bit frothy before you put the cream of tartar in. Okay, as your egg whites get a little bit frothy, you're going to take your cream of tartar and add that to the mix. And turn it back on high. Once that gets stiffened a bit, you're going to slowly but surely add the sugar. And I do mean slowly but surely. You do not want to mess this up or get it to be not as well mixed. Go adding sugar little bits at a time. Now make sure that when you are doing your egg whites, you get to the point after you've added the sugar that it will get into not only stiff peaks, but kind of marshmallowy texture. Okay, now that you have your egg whites to the point where they are marshmallowy in feel, this is where you're going to want to add the food coloring and the flavoring. right now I'm going to be working on making those banana macarons. So with the banana flavoring, we're going to put about a teaspoon of that flavoring in there. Okay, just easy on the side. And we're going to put a little bit of this yellow food coloring because banana yellow. If not, it's going to be just a little tint, but I kind of want that nice and beautiful yellow tone, sunny and sunshiny banana. Oh, I wish you could smell this. That banana flavoring is gorgeous. All right. Now, time to do what's called the macaronage, which is where you take your almond flour and powdered sugar and you mix it until you get kind of this crazy 8 shape, all right, with your mixing. Okay, now that you've got your flavoring and your food coloring in that mix, we're going to mix the almond flour and powdered sugar in so that we've got it nice and mixed there. Let's just put a little bit in to start. Fold that in. And then finally add the rest of it. Okay, now you're going to take your mixture and you're going to fold in that almond flour and powdered sugar. And don't worry about it losing some of its fluff because you're going to get that in there anyway. You need to get it to the consistency where it is kind of pliable. This is called the macaronage phase. Don't forget to scrape the bottom of the barrel there to make sure we've got all of that almond flour mixture with all of that cream that you just made. See, it's not just there yet because it can't really make it. It's got to have that sleek shape of that crazy 8. Form this crazy 8 kind of slippery feel to that mixture. That's about right. Once you've gotten it to the consistency that you need it to be during the macaronage phase, you're going to take this and you're going to fill your piping bag. Well, the first time I filled the piping bag, it was a hot mess. It was everywhere. What I've learned is you fold it down, get a big enough piping bag. Also, just kind of tuck that under so it doesn't spill out while you're doing that. Now what you want to do is you want to take a little dab of that almond flour mixture and you're going to dab each little end there on this baking sheet like so that it kind of like anchors your paper down and it doesn't move while you're piping. It's just a little trick that we've all learned through different channels. And when you're ready with your piping bag, what you're going to do is you're going to take your piping bag mixture with that tip and you're going to take it and you're going to be about an inch above All right, once you've got all of your cookies, macarons piped out, you're going to want to take your tray and give it one big tap. Now that creates the foot. Do that to both of your plates. And once you've done the tap, you're going to set it aside just for a few minutes or 10 or so until the tops that you've piped out are nice and smooth and hard on the top, because you don't want to give them in the oven while they're still super wet. All right, while you're waiting on your macarons to dry, the shells to dry and whatnot, and then putting them in the oven, you are going to be making your chocolate ganache. So what you do is you take the heavy whipping cream and pour it into a medium saucepan. Love that whipping cream. And also you want to heat it up on a medium-low heat. You don't want it to boil, you just want it to get warm enough that's going to melt all that little chocolate that's in there. Okay, now that you've got that cream heated up nice and warm, you're going to take your cup of chocolate chips, put it in a bowl, and pour the cream over it. Okay, you just kind of let that sit for a second. You might want to cover it and let it kind of like melt the chocolate. I always like to take a plate and cover that top. Just for a couple. Now you're going to want to wait until these harden over a little bit so that you could touch the top and it just kind of indents, but it doesn't stick to your fingers. Nice and smooth tops there, and then you're going to put them in the oven. We're going to bake these for about 12 to 15 minutes until they're nice and ready to go. Okay, you've left your chocolate and your milk melting for a little bit there. You're going to take a whisk and you're going to slowly incorporate to make sure that that chocolate, until it's nice and smooth in there with the milk. Make sure to use that whisk because it helps separate all that and actually blend it together a lot better. It's a little soupy, so if it does end up that way, then you can maybe add some more chocolate chips and it'll be fine. Just let's set that and cool for just a bit. Okay, after they're ready to take out, they should be nice and hard shelled. I just smushed one of those. And I like to put them on a cookie cooler rack so that they don't overcook and they're not all crazy. You still want the hard shell, but like a chewiness to it. It should turn out all right. Now, before we start putting the ganache on those cookies, I like to take the time, once they've cooled on the rack, to match up sizes, because you know they're not exactly the same, but they are pretty the same. It's almost like a little game. You match so that they're perfect in cookie size, and then you're going to be icing them together. Once I've got them all matched up, I like to line them up like this and kind of match them on top of each other and turn over the tops so I know that I'm icing the bottom and putting the tops on them. Okay, now what you do is you take your chocolate ganache, you snip a little bit of that tip off of the bag, and you're ready to pipe. And then here's where the beauty part happens. You make the sandwich. And that ganache is going to cool and harden up a little bit because I know it's a little bit runny right now. And there you have it. Banana macarons with chocolate ganache. Now for the moment of truth. Banana macaron with chocolate ganache. Delicious. Well, I'm glad you got to join me today. Hopefully your macarons come out. And if they don't, they're great snacks anyways. Always going to taste good. Until then, you got this. A huge shout out goes to Preppy Kitchen for all the recipes for the macarons and also the techniques. Please check that channel out. Also, if you do like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, if you can send some pictures in the comments, I would love the feedback.